Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. That's where we are today and every Monday. Don't forget UFC 322 this Saturday night right here at the Gallery Bar, booking games at the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. And, of course, right now it is football at 4. Geoff Mosher, a Mosher Monday, takes a look at the matchups between the Eagles and the Packers. And, you know, that extra day, we kind of look over things. But there was some news over the weekend, Mosher. Let's dive into it. Jair Alexander will not travel. He is not going to be there. I don't know if it's a huge surprise or loss for this team. I guess what it does kind of say is, you know, they're not really all that anticipating him helping them all that much. But the other guys, Phillips and Carter, I guess, will play in the game. Do we think Jalen Phillips will have a big role, like a normal flow of snaps tonight in this game?
Good questions. First of all, Mike, congratulations to you on professionally broadcasting a basketball game a professional basketball game over the weekend.
I didn't mess up.
Very excited.
Thank you.
Great accomplishment. Secondly, let's go backwards here because you mentioned Nolan Smith, right? He has technically not yet been activated.
No. Jair Alexander.
Oh, Jair. I thought you also said then Smith and Phillips were going to play.
No, Carter.
Okay. We'll get into that in a second. Yeah, so Jair Alexander, look, I think it should be noted that he popped up on the injury report as coach's decision / knee because he said he felt healthier than he's ever been. But the knee is the reason that his conditioning wasn't right, that he couldn't get on the field for the Baltimore Ravens. And obviously he's only been with the Eagles for a week, and they play a specific style of zone coverage that we talk about, the match, carry, deliver concepts that are not just really easily learnable in 1 week. And if you haven't played in that kind of system before, then it's difficult to go out there and know your assignment. So it looks like he's going to need some time both to learn the defense and also to make sure his knee is right. And that was the whole thing. It's like a dart throw. He may never be right. He may never see the field for the Philadelphia Eagles. And if he doesn't, I mean, no harm done as far as what they gave up. But that's the situation with him. And obviously, I expect Jalen Phillips to play a pretty decent amount tonight. I mean, he's got no restrictions, no reason to scale back. I mean, he's part of a pass rush that is pretty good here. Vic Fangio tends to rely on the three-man rotations. So you imagine that the starters will be Jalen Phillips and Jalix Hunt. And, we'll see if Uche gets in there. And again, they have time here to activate Nolan Smith if they want to. They have 52 right now on the roster.
Yeah,
I believe he did go with the team.
He said he was going to play.
Yeah, he did say he was going to play. But you know what? There are a lot of guys that say it's not really his decision. I've heard that before, and guys didn't play.
Well, like tonight, you would think Jalen Phillips, if he practiced all week and he knows Vic's offense, do you see any reason why he would be limited in terms of snap count? Like, hey, you're here, you know the defense, you're going to play how we envision you playing.
And which player is that? You're saying Phillips?
Jalen Phillips, yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, like Vic is not. He's not Jim Schwartz at all. He is not. Let me get like 8 edges in there and rotate them all. He's of the mindset that if you're playing and you're playing well, and look what he did with Zadarius Smith that first game, and then like when Azeez Ojulari played that first game and he was playing well, they kept throwing him out there. So I don't see any reason for them, especially in a big game. You're going to need some pass rush, and this is a guy who's been healthy this year and productive. So play him as much as you can play him. I imagine that'll be Vic's mantra. And I'm very curious to see what goes on with Michael Carter. I imagine that I would suspect that they'll start the game with Cooper DeJean will play outside corner and base. He'll move into the nickel, obviously. And then the outside corner and nickel, I suspect will either be Keely Ringo, maybe Adoree Jackson. And then maybe if there's a dime package, we'll see Michael Carter, or maybe we'll get surprised and we'll see Michael Carter play some nickelback and DeJean on the outside. That's an unlikely scenario to me, but it's possible.
Yeah, and, I want to get your take on the one thing about the Packers to me is, like, they don't have that number one wide receiver, right? Like, there's not that guy, and then Kraft goes down. What do you think of the matchup of the secondary against their passing game?
I think that you're right. I think you're nailing on. They're down a significant number of weapons. Jaden Reed from the start of the year is not with them. And Tucker Kraft, who is one arguably having a top 5 tight end type year and is that kind of player, is out. They're banged up with Matthew Golden, their rookie. It sounds like he's going to play. I know their other rookie, Savion Williams, is banged up. So right now, you're looking at their top 3 receivers, and you're looking at Romeo Doubs, good player, Christian Watson, who I think has been really good in the 2 weeks that he's been back. He's been a deep threat. He's already caught like 2 or 3 balls over 20 or 30 yards. So that's a guy that tonight you're watching to see how the Eagles handle him. And then after that, you're looking at like Dontavian Wicks if he can play and see what he can give you. I mean, it's not a bad receiving core, but without Kraft and without Jaden Reed, they're certainly not where they want to be.
Yeah, it feels like a pitching staff with a lot of number 2s and 3s. Like there's no ace of the staff here. We just had Amon Green on, and he talked about Josh Jacobs and the run game. And, he doesn't much like Saquon. And he talked about it. He said, the one year I had 1,800 yards. And then the next year, it was a lot more difficult as teams kind of tried now to say, you're not going to do things. So I'm interested to see if they try to establish Josh Jacobs in this game and get their running game going. Because you would think Philly will try to get their run game going the way that Carolina was able to run the ball last week against the Green Bay defense.
Yeah, and real quick, Mike, to your point, Nolan Smith was just announced to be activated to the 53-man.
All right.
Again, they don't have to make a corresponding move. They were down 52. It doesn't appear as if Ja'Cory Bennett then will be active, or else they would have announced it. Yeah. So it looked like they'll have till, I think, the 11th or 12th. Well, what's today? Today's the 10th. Yeah. I think they only have 1 or 2 days left to get him on the 53, which you imagine will come in that time frame, unless there's something wrong and they just shut him down longer. So, they'd have to shut him down for the year if that were the case. So anyway, so back to your question about Josh Jacobs. Listen, this is Matt LaFleur's deal. He is considered I like Matt LaFleur. I think he's a really good head coach, but he is conservative. And in that, he likes to have that heavy run balance. And when you lose Tucker Kraft and you're already down Jaden Reed, you imagine you want to run the ball, if you can, as much as possible. So, but they haven't really ran the ball kind of like the Eagles. They have not been as effective running the ball lately. I think Josh Jacobs is under 4 yards per carry, which is not normally his style. He's not the explosive runner that Saquon is, but he is a grinder, and he's a carry a bunch of guys runner, and he can catch the ball pretty well. They're going to have to figure out a way, the Packers are, to be able to lean on him and get him to be more effective, for their offense as a whole to be more effective.
Real quick, I want to go to the Nolan Smith. They are activating him to the 53 and elevating Patrick Johnson for the game. With Phillips here, who do you think that affects the most, Nolan or Jalix?
I would think Jalix Hunt.
That his snaps will get scaled back a little bit?
Well, I mean, you're asking long-term more than tonight, right?
Just for the season, for like the big picture here. Now that Jalen Phillips is here, you would assume that he's going to be, I don't want to say an every down player, but you just talked about it. They don't he's out there.
Yeah, good point. Let me rephrase that or re-answer that. Because Vic is so heavy on a 3-man rotation, at least he's been so far, I can see a situation where Jalen Phillips plays a lot, and on the other side, you get more of a 50-50 type rotation between Jalix Hunt and Nolan Smith. They obviously want to be able to keep Nolan Smith healthy. He's had some injuries. I think really the people most impacted are the Uches, Ojulari, who's on IR right now. I mean, Ojulari could become a release candidate by the time he's ready to be healthy, especially if they want to have Ja'Cory Bennett back or Willie Lampkin or somebody else, right? So I think the backups, Uche, and obviously Patrick Johnson's just going to be there for special teams. And Brandon Graham, I really don't know how many reps Brandon Graham is going to be able to give them or get on a game-to-game basis.
Right. Well, and Brandon's not obviously a release candidate. He's going to stick around. So you're right. Somebody else might have to be the odd man out there. I'm really going to look forward to the snaps for Phillips and how they use him, and then whose snaps go down. Because the other guy would be Jahad Campbell. What kind of role do you see him having?
Man, it's not. I don't see any nickel end role for him. I know he's practiced in that lately, and that means, pass rusher, outside edge rusher, and a 4-man front. I don't see that happening with all the bodies that they got there now. And I don't see him getting full-time snaps at off-ball linebacker because Nakobe Dean does such a good job of just having the defense stabilized, getting everybody lined up. That not only eases your front end, it eases your back end as well. So I don't think he's going to just sit on the bench and collect dust by any means, but I think there's going to be a timeshare there with him and Nakobe at off-ball linebacker. But unless there's, you get some injuries again at edge, I don't see Campbell really factoring in. Maybe on the 5-2 front, he comes down and plays some edge against the run, but that's not a pass rusher role. It's just an extra body to create a 6-man surface.
Yeah, and listen,
5-man surface.
Yeah, we'll see. The Eagles' defense kind of the 2 games last year. It was kind of 2 different games. The first game was a little bit more. Obviously that's the first game of the year. You're on a different surface in Brazil. The playoff game, they played much better and kind of dominated the game defensively in that one. I'm wondering
3 turnovers or 4 turnovers, I think, in that game. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Eagles, by the way, have only 3 turnovers the whole season this year, which is unbelievable. And I said, if you're Philadelphia, we talked about this with Amon Green, is, okay, you saw the opponent the week before run 26 times for 160 yards. You're the running back saying, hey, coach, let's try to watch what they did and do that and try to take some plays out of that playbook and go that way. You wonder if Philadelphia, which has been going under center more, does say, let's turn around and get Saquon going again for a second week in a row and try to emulate a little bit here.
Yeah, and that has nothing to do with the Packers game against the Panthers last week, and everything to do with who are the Eagles, what do they want to do, what are they to succeed, how do they want to live, and they want to have that run game. That is their bread and butter, and they were excited about the return of it against the Giants going into the bye, and yeah, they're going to want to do that against. Even if they come out throwing a little bit, trying to loosen up that Green Bay pass rush, they're eventually foundationally going to want to be a strong run game. That's why you have that line in Saquon Barkley.
All right.
By the way, the Packers have been a good run defense. That if you watched the Panthers game, right, and knew nothing about the Packers, you would think Jordan Love is not a horrible quarterback, but a very dangerous risk taker, and that the Packers have issues against the run. But they actually rank high against the run, and Jordan Love, for the most part, has only thrown, I think, 3 interceptions this year. He's not the guy who used to be counted on for a weekly interception like he was at the beginning of last year and the year before.
Yeah, and listen, I've been kind of down on the Packers more so than everybody else. I feel like the Parsons trade elevated them to a level that maybe they're quite not at. And last year, everybody loved them, and they got knocked out right off the bat here. And I think last year people elevated them. They got beat. And then this year they made the Parsons trade, and that elevated them to a level that I don't think they can reach.
Yeah, I put my hand up. I was there. I thought that they were one of the top teams in the NFC. And then when they beat the Lions in the season opener, pretty convincingly, I looked at them like, oh yeah, they're for real. I always allow one team a stinker every year, right? The Eagles had theirs against the Giants, and I forget. You go through the teams and you say everybody has a stinker, but the Packers have more than one. They lost to the Browns, they lost to the Panthers, and they tied the Cowboys. So they're clearly not functioning on all cylinders. But I still think that if they go up and win in Green Bay, I will say that is a very good win. That is an excellent win. And by the way, it's a really important win if you're looking at the seedings and the playoffs and tiebreaker scenarios.
No, listen, and we were talking about this earlier. If Philly right now, by the way, Seattle is actually the number 1 seed because they played yesterday and had that 7th win. But this is a big spot if you want to try to get home field advantage all the way. Now, remember, last year Philly was the 2 seed. They needed a Detroit loss to get that home field advantage for the NFC Championship game. So, this game here with the Packers, because you do have a tiebreaker over the Rams. You do have a tiebreaker over Tampa Bay. But there's so many teams in play for the number 1 seed right now. So this is a major, major league game for that. So I think it's a fun game going on the road. And we talk about spots here. Philly coming off a bye, Jeff. Packers coming off a bad loss last week. You almost feel like they've got to be focused. And to see them lose 2 straight home games, if they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender, that's tough to see.
Yeah, that is tough to see. It's funny. I was doing some of the, what would the playoffs look like right now if the Eagles won this game and lost this game? And just either way, you remember how last year the wild card was like the two wild card teams were good. Like the Commanders were a 12-win wild card team, and the Vikings were, I think, a 13-win wild card team. And here you look, and right now, if Seattle wins that NFC West, you got the Rams and the Lions as your top two wild card teams. Those are probably teams that are going to win 11 to 13 games. And the Bears right now are 7th, and they look pretty good. So a really important game, a significant game, but also a lot of football left to be played. That NFC West has got to figure itself out, and the NFC North has got to figure itself out. But either way, the NFC looks pretty tight. And once those Bucs get healthy, I know everybody can look at the Bucs right now and be like, man, they lost to the Patriots. They're not as good. Wait till they get Bucky Irving back, right? And wait till they get Chris Godwin back. And maybe they get Michael, what's his face? Mike Evans back too. With the broken collar, I don't know for the playoffs. But they're a tough team. They were in that Patriots game for quite a bit. So NFC just looks mighty difficult.
Very much. Oh, this is it. Look, this game tonight, because of that, you could be – now, Philly's in a little different position because their division situation, because their division, they're most likely going to win the division. So they're
locked into a top 4 seed. That's nice.
Correct. Whereas if you're Green Bay and you lose, you have Detroit on your heels. If you're Seattle, you got the Rams, the 49ers. Tampa Bay kind of has the same situation that Philly's in. But Carolina is hanging in that race a little bit, and after Tampa Bay lost yesterday, Tampa's got a tough game. They play Buffalo this week coming up, actually. Tampa,
Buffalo's had 3 stinkers. They're a team that can't get the benefit of the doubt.
They lost to the Dolphins yesterday, for God's sakes.
No, Mike, they didn't lose. They got their kicked by the Dolphins.
All right. Well, obviously, when you have that extra day, especially coming off a bye, it's been a lot of talk and breaking this whole thing down. But ultimately, a lot of people think that the Eagles are the better team, but this is a tough spot for them. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think. Well, I think that I think the NFC is weird. I think that the two teams that have the most talent are the Eagles and the Lions. When you just look at blue chip talent in the NFC, but the teams that are playing the best football by far, the Seattle Seahawks are playing at a level that is just unreal right now. So they're just playing really good ball. And I thought Tampa Bay before the injuries was playing like almost ahead of its actual 53-man roster talent. They were just playing on another level, and then they got a bunch of injuries. So yeah, I think the Eagles are more talented than the Packers from top to bottom. But that doesn't always mean anything. They're way more talented than the Giants, and they lost by 17.
All right, well, Moshe, we'll break it all down Wednesday when you're back here. And, of course, they're right back at it. The Eagles are. They got to play the Lions on Sunday night next week. So we'll see how these two games unfold. It's going to be a big stretch. Packers tonight, Lions on Sunday, followed by Dallas, and then Chicago on Black Friday. It's a tough month for Philadelphia in the seeding game. We'll see how it all unfolds right here on 97.3 ESPN.
Remember when everybody thought the first 5 games were the gauntlet, and then but you just never know who's going to be. Like the Cowboys can score a lot of points. The Bears are looking good, so it's back to the gauntlet.
Yeah, and the Cowboys actually got a defensive player that can walk and chew gum.
Yeah, how about that?
By the way, the Jets won yesterday without the 2 guys playing defense for them. How about that?
This has been the most. I know we say it every week. It's a week-to-week league, but I feel like this year more than ever. For whatever reason, I've been following the Falcons every week to see what they do. They are the craziest team I've ever seen. The Falcons will play awful for like 2 weeks, then they'll play pretty tough. They'll beat they beat the Bills, then they go and play the Colts tough, blow it. But that's like they are and the Panthers. The Panthers and the Falcons are a microcosm of the NFL this year. They don't make any sense. How do you lose to the Saints at home after you beat the Packers in Green Bay? How? How is that possible?
How does anybody lose to the Dolphins, by the way? That's unbelievable. This season, you're right, is upside down and inside out. All right, the guys from Inside the Birds will have plenty more on the Inside the Birds podcast, which you can get on all podcasting platforms. And, of course, tomorrow right here on Football at 4. Adam will be here to recap it. Jeff will be back on Wednesday. And we'll keep an eye on that Ja'Cory and Bennett thing for Wednesday, too, because if he's not activated by Wednesday, that means he is out for the year for the Eagles. All right, Jeff, thanks, bud.
All right, Mike, shout out D-Money. Thanks. Take care.